Hi guys, good morning and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm showing how I use my basic pizza crust recipe to make some salad bowls. We're having a salad for dinner and I thought it would be a nice twist to use our pizza crust recipe to make some salad bowls. This is a really exciting project. I like playing around in the kitchen with different recipes, but this pizza crust recipe has been really good. I've used it to make pizza, of course. I've shared on here how I use it to make calzones, and I also use it to make stromboli. So today I'm sharing with you how I use it to make salad bowls. The recipe is very basic, and I'll just put it on the screen, all the measurements that I'm using. I'll be using 100% freshly milled flour for this, and I will be doing a few add-ins. So I'm going to be adding some vital wheat gluten to ensure I have enough gluten in the mix to have a nice structure, because I need a nice structure for these salad bowls. But I'm also going to be adding some barley malt. The barley malt is going to help with the color, and it's also going to help with the flavor at the end. So this promises to be a very nice recipe. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started by milling this wheat. I'm using 100% hard white wheat, and I'm using my Nutrimill Harvest to mill this wheat. As a reminder, I do have an affiliate code, and it will be linked in the description box down below. If you use my link to make a purchase off the Nutrimill website, you will receive a $20 discount. So you have to use For Your Heart at Home at checkout to get a $20 off discount off of your item if it qualifies for one of the purchases on the website. So let's get started by milling 4 cups of hard white wheat. Okay, so I have just milled my 4 cups of flour. I'm going to put that in my bread machine bowl. And while the flour was milling, I added 1 cup of room temperature water to my bread machine bowl. I also added 3/4 of a teaspoon of honey, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I also added 1.5 tablespoons of avocado oil. Actually, no, I used grapeseed oil today, but you could use avocado oil, you can use olive oil, whatever oil is best for you. And so now I'm adding my flour. I also added 2 tablespoons of vital wheat gluten, and I added 1 tablespoon of barley malt powder. So I put in 4 cups of wheat berries into my Nutrimill Harvest, and so I'm putting all of that flour here into my bread machine. To that I'm adding 1 3/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. So now I'm just going to put this in my bread machine. It runs a cycle on the dough cycle for about 1 and 1.5 hours. So in about 1.5 hours I'll come back, I'll show you what my dough looks like. I will show you shaping it and getting it ready for the oven. So I'll bring you back when it's time to do the next step. Alright, this is what my dough looks like within the first 5 minutes or so of kneading. I am going to leave this alone now and let the bread machine do its thing. It's going to knead and proof my dough in the next hour and a half or so. And so I'll bring you back when it's time to shape the dough. Alright guys, so we're back. I am going to be shaping this dough that has been in my bread machine. You will notice if you're using freshly milled flour that your dough ferments pretty quickly. And with the addition of the barley malt to this dough recipe, it fermented even quicker. So I'm just putting a little bit of oil on my hands and I'm going to pull this dough together to show you what I'm working with. A lot of times you'll see recipes asking you to put your dough on a nicely floured surface, and that works really well if you're using all-purpose flour. I find that when using freshly milled flour, you don't want to introduce any new flour when your dough has already gone through the kneading process and the first proof. If you introduce new flour into the dough, that dough is going to be gritty because the new flour hasn't had time to absorb any kinds of liquid and it hasn't had time to soften. So instead of adding my dough to a floured surface, I like to just put some oil on my hands, or you can use water, and so that does not interfere with the softness of my dough. My dough is not gritty, it's easy to work with. So that's just a tip for anybody who is using freshly milled flour maybe for the first time, or maybe you weren't aware of that. So I put 4 cups of hard white wheat into my Nutrimil Harvest and I milled that into flour. And so I'm going to take this now and divide it into about 6 pieces. That will give me enough for 6 bread bowls. I'm going to eyeball this. You can by all means use a kitchen scale, weigh the whole dough ball, and then you can divide it into however many pieces you would like so that you can get even amounts. But for this purpose, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm making a slight log so that I can get 6 semi-even pieces. You can make these as large or as small as you would like. Especially if you're making them for children, you could probably make them a little bit smaller. So as I do with most of my dough, as you can see, it's very soft, very pliable, perfectly what I need to be done. I'm just going to take the dough and roll it into itself, just like so, to create a nice, smooth surface on the top. This also creates tension on the ball that we're creating. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of the pieces. Turn it into itself. Roll it into a ball like so. And I'm placing it on my baking tray. I am using very soft fingers when I'm working with this dough. I don't want to be too rough with it. So I'm using a very relaxed hand. Since I'm making salad bowls with this, I do not want them to touch each other. So I'm going to put a nice space in between all of them. And then I'm going to cover this with a clean tea towel that has been dampened. You want to have your tea towel damp so that it doesn't pull moisture out of your doughs as they are rising. Okay, so a damp tea towel works really well for this. Again, that dampness from the towel will create the perfect environment for it to rise well and get ready for going into the oven. At this point, if you want to do an egg wash, you could do that, or you could do a butter wash. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to leave it as it is. If you wanted, you could take this dough and add herbs to it, and that would be a very nice addition to any kind of salads that you're using with this. You would add the herbs to the mixture when you put it in the bread machine. You could also add some garlic. That would also be fantastic. I kept these plain today, but again, it's your kitchen. Do what makes you feel most comfortable, and you can play around with the recipe as you like. Recipes are written as a guide, but at the end of the day, you're in control. You can do what works in your kitchen. Alright, and just like that, my dough balls are ready for the next stage. Cover them with a clean, damp tea towel for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to let them rise while my oven warms up. I'm going to warm up my oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to put them in for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to drop the temperature to 375. I will bring you back when it's time for the next step. Alright, I think these are ready to go into the oven. They look really nice, and my oven is up to temperature. So I'm going to put these in. I'll keep these covered while these bake, and then I'll swap them out and put them in when they are ready to go. So here they go into the oven. I will have all the baking instructions, all of the timing, all the ingredients amounts, everything will be listed in the description box down below, but I also have it on the screen for you as well. Quick reminder that my freshly milled flour cookbook is available on Amazon for purchase. It has over 100 recipes, all geared to freshly milled flour. You'll find recipes for flatbreads, sandwich breads, everyday breads, desserts, international breads. There's so many options in here, and this is a wonderful place to start if you're a beginner. The recipes center on using freshly milled flour, hard white wheat, and soft white wheat, but I also put in some alternatives because some people don't want to use hard white wheat, or they don't want to use soft white wheat. I also included recipes that can be swapped, so you can put kamut if you prefer, or spelt. So in the cookbook you will find information about how to mill your own grains, what grains you should be using for what kind of recipes, but most of the recipes in here are geared towards hard white wheat or soft white wheat. I have also included instructions on how you can swap hard white wheat for a kamut, for example, or a courgette wheat, because kamut and courgette, they are used interchangeably. It's the same wheat that we're referencing. Or you could switch your soft white wheat for spelt. So those are the 4 grains that are used throughout this cookbook. Again, it's created for the beginner. Maybe you need some reliable recipes and you want to have it all in one place. So this is a wonderful place to start. And I also include instructions on how to make these recipes in your bread machine if it's applicable. I also give you instructions on how to hand knead. So this is a very versatile cookbook. It's available on Amazon. Feel free to check it out at your convenience. And maybe you are not ready for freshly milled flour, but you still would like some from scratch recipes that you can utilize in your kitchen, I have Simply Homemade, which is also available on Amazon for anyone who's interested. It has over 150 recipes in this one for breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, drink mixes. It also has dry mixes, because I know sometimes as busy parents we want to have, say for example, a pancake mix already put together and you just have to add the wet ingredients. There are mix options available in this cookbook as well. I also included a lot of international recipes. As you know, we are Jamaicans, and so that is a pivotal point in how I cook and how I formulate my recipes. So you're going to have some kind of infusion recipes in here as well. So this is a wonderful base for from scratch cooking. If this is of interest to you, it's available on Amazon as well. Feel free to check it out. So while my first set of bread bowls are in the oven, I'm going to cover these over and let them continue to rise while the other ones bake. So I'll bring you back when everything is all baked up and show you how I use them to make salad bowls. My word. All right, guys, my bread is done on the bottom, and this came out so well. This is my little test spot for where I checked the temperature to make sure it was fully cooked on the inside. So I'm going to allow these to cool completely. It's another one. They're nice and soft. I'm going to allow them to cool completely, and then I'm going to cut into it so that I can use it for my salad bowls. I'm really excited. All right, I won't touch it so they don't deflate. I'll bring you back when it's time for the next step. Alright guys, so my bread bowls are finished. I'm going to make my salad now that's going to go into the bread bowl so I can fill it and pull it all together. I'm going to wash my lettuce and my tomato. I'm keeping it very simple with my salad, and then I'm going to show you how I make a simple salad dressing to bring this all together. Just going to pat dry my lettuce so it's not sopping wet. You can use a clean tea towel to do that, or just some paper towels like I'm doing right here. All right, so I have some lettuce and tomato in here. I'm going to put a bit of chopped almonds and just some hemp seed. You can add whatever you want to your salad, and just some salt and pepper. All right, in a minute I'll mix this together, but this is a very basic salad. This is what I'm going to use in my bread bowls, and I'm going to top it with some roasted chicken. So that's the base of my salad. So I just made a very basic vinaigrette. I added vinegar, honey, and grapeseed oil to my container here with a little bit of salt and pepper. And that's all you really need to make a very basic salad dressing. I'm just going to mix that until it's well combined. And now with this, we are ready to pull this whole thing together. Giving another look at my bread bowl. Well, let's create the bread bowl now. So I'm just going to, this has cooled well enough. That's what it looks like. And then I'm gonna just I have some leftover chicken here. I'm just going to shred it and put it on top. Alright guys, here you go. My salad bowl is finished. It looks absolutely amazing. And I'm going to keep the insides to dip in that vinaigrette that I made. It is delicious. So thanks for being here. I hope you had a good time watching this video. If you have any questions about anything we did today, feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below, or just stop by to say hello. Thanks for being here. Remember to subscribe and share this video with others. I'll see you next time in the next video here at For Your Heart and Home. Bye!